Okay, watercolor paper. Now we're going to talk about supplies, paper, and the last final things. Okay, so there's lots of different ways to get your watercolor paper. I'm just going to start with some examples. So here, this is actually a bound book with watercolor paper. These pages you would think would not come out, so it's like a journal. So if you're planning on having a journal and watercoloring in it, something like this would work fine. The pages are nice and thick. You can see that's what you want. You want weight in your paper. And these pages in this journal are actually nice and smooth. So they make for a really nice, for applying your paint. It works really nice. If you're not going to do a journal and you just want blank paper, there are different ways to get that. So one is in a bound. It's on one end, it's just got a glue, right? So these you can paint and then they just come right out. Right? They just lift right out on that other edge. So what you want to look for when you're buying your paper is, again, make sure it has a nice weight. And usually it should say for watercolor on it, cold press, and sometimes it'll say mixed media, which is fine. I have a couple of mixed media pads that work great. Here's another example, watercolor. It's bound at the top, cold press. The weight is nice and thick, if you can see how thick that is. So that's nice. Here's another one. This one is a semi-smooth. So you can see where here it says semi-smooth, and I'll show you that paper. It's hard, you can't see the texture really on the video, but it's smooth versus the more textured paper. So, and this is actually really a lot thinner. So this would not be your first choice, and also it's spiral bound. So the problem with that is there's no easy way to just take one piece out. Hi, kitty. So this would not be my first recommendation, but showing you some options. Here's a little mixed media that works well. And the reason why it does work well, it says on it, watercolor is one of the mediums you can use. But this also, it's nice and thick. And it also, this was painted with watercolor and it's pretty flat, so it didn't buckle. So again, nice paper. However, this is spiral bound. So again, this is a journal type journal or sketchbook, not one that you would paint something that you want to then frame or take out separate. So here's an example of a pad that's spiral bound, but it's also perforated. So you can take it out, right? It's got nice, thick, very, very thick pages. You could paint in, with it still in here, or you can go ahead and take it out and then paint on it. But this is really nice paper. And you want to, don't get wood pulp paper, get cotton paper. Here's an example of the little cotton symbol. Not all of them have that symbol on them, but look for that. You definitely want cotton paper. And then another way to have your paper is to tape it down on a board, something like this. I bought this specifically to tape my watercolor paper on. So there's a couple ways to do it. You can tape it down dry with like a painter's tape, or you can wet your paper so that it gets nice and saturated and stretch, and then use this. This is a brown dry glued tape that then when you get it wet, the glue becomes active, and then you can tape it down that way. So there's just different ways to do it. You can experiment. and figure out which way you like to do best. So when we get into some of the painting stuff, we'll talk about painting on wet paper versus painting on dry paper. You'll just explore with it and figure out what you enjoy doing. Let's see. Do I want to also just mention that you'll also want a couple of jars for water, one for your cleaner water, one for your dirtier water. So you'll kind of do in a two-step. You'll first clean your brush in the dirtier water and then in the cleaner water. Um, and you'll want like paper towels, Kleenex, rags, things that you can use to absorb the extra water and paint. Sometimes when we're painting, I got too much water on my canvas, on my paper. So you can take these other things, the paper towel, the Kleenex. You could even use cotton if you've got a lot of extra cotton hanging around from all your vitamin bottles. Or cloth rags. You can use any of that to just then dab up any extra water on your paper. So those are some of your supplies. It's also good to just have an extra couple of towels hanging around. So there's a good list of things to have in order to get started.